Sooner or later, we all need a vacation.
You gonna go practice at home?
It truly is a planetary emergency, and we have to respond quickly. We have to quickly find a way to change the world's consciousness about exactly what we're facing and why we have to work to solve it.
All right, look, many congratulations to new Nobelist Al Gore, but we have some inconvenient truths to go over, not to speak of my own worries. The global warming agenda will seriously set back stocks, the economy, prosperity, and capitalism. Other than that, no problem. Joining me now, Jerry Boyer, chief economist, Benchmark Financial Network, columnist for National Review Online, Jimmy Pethokoukis of U.S. News and World Report, capital commerce blogger that he is, Marlo Lewis, senior fellow of Competitive Enterprise Institute and author of the paper Al Gore's Science Fiction, A Skeptic's Guide to an Inconvenient Truth. We also have our stalwart and great friend David Hamilton, Director of Global Warming and Energy for the Sierra Club. Marlo, let me go to you. I understand you've got some time constraints. This British court decision forbade Mr. Gore's movie Inconvenient Truth from playing in the British schools until, what, 9 inconvenient untruths were cleaned up. What were the toughest ones on these that you need cleaning up?
Well, the big kahuna is definitely 20 feet of sea level rise in our lifetime, or that of our children.
How much did he miss by on that one?
Well, the IPCC, which also got the Nobel Prize, estimated anywhere from 7 inches to 23 inches. So Mr. Gore was off by 20-fold or 40-fold, depending on which part of that range you take. But it's actually a much bigger error, because Mr. Gore is saying we could get 20 feet because half of the Greenland ice sheet could melt and tumble into the sea. There is no scientific possibility of that happening in the 20th century. For that much ice to melt off of Greenland would take at least a millennium under a very, extreme global warming scenario.
The interesting thing is they wanted to run this movie in the British schools, but a British judge, a court, said, no way, this is a political movie, and the facts are not correct. Melting snows in Mount Kilimanjaro, not right. CO2 causes temperature increases over 650,000 years, not right. Hurricane Katrina, not right. 4 polar bears drowned, not right. That's an interesting one.
Actually, Larry, 4 polar bears did drown in 1 month of 1 year, but Al Gore said polar bears have been drowning in significant numbers. So He exaggerated the problem way out of proportion.
Right. Well, listen, I get some really bad sinus headaches. I can't attribute that to global warming. Now, we've got to give equal time. David Hamilton, who's a friend and an intrepid, he comes into the Lion's Den all the time. Go ahead, David. Please weigh in on these truths or untruths or whatever they are.
Well, if you're paying attention, you know that a number of scientists believe that the IPCC reports on sea level rise are much lower estimate than they believe is reflected by what has really accelerated melting over the past couple of years. And James Hansen of NASA and others believe that because the IPCC report happens over each update happens over 4 years, that it did not reflect the latest information about ice melt. That's where a lot of those things come from.
All right, but what do you say about these? This is a British judge. It's a British court. It's not me. It's not Jerry Boyer. It's not Jimmy Pethokoukis. And he says these are inconvenient for Mr. Gore. I mean, does that cast a shadow over his credibility?
Yeah, I think you can pick at details on some of these things, but if you take the IPCC plus the rest of the body of knowledge about this, the basic things that he's trying to say is right. The IPCC says that the extinction of polar bears is a likelihood under the business as usual scenario. So what do you can quibble with something he said, but look at the overall trends, look at the overall body of science, and there's not a lot of question on what's happening.
All right, Jerry Boyer and Jimmy P., we've heard the Sierra Club talk. We lost Marlo, but hang on a second. I am very worried that at the bottom line, there may be some climate change issues, but we may also destroy the American economy in the process of solving them. That's my biggest problem, Jerry Boyer. You start.
Yeah, that's my concern as well. I mean, there's a lot of problems with this line of thinking. I mean, one of them is that there's absolutely no way that the developing world is going to agree to these kind of limitations in greenhouse emissions that are being proposed. So we're talking about limiting greenhouse emissions in the developed world. Well, the problem is, if they're still spewing CO2 out, say, in Bangladesh, we all have the same atmosphere. So this isn't really a discussion about whether we're going to cut greenhouse emissions. This is really a discussion about whether it's going to happen in the developed world or in the developing world.
But
this is getting tired. I mean, we're waiting so long that China's going to get way out ahead of us on this.
Yeah, I know. Come on. They're not going to do it. You know they're not going to do it because they don't want any growth constraints. They have a lot to lose. The developed world doesn't want them to. Jimmy Pethokoukis, what bothers me is the caps. We're going to debate in the next segment whether carbon taxes or cap and trade, which one is the best way to go on this. There's a huge debate. Right. I don't like caps, Jimmy. Caps going back to 1990. Caps going back to 2000. 50-year caps. You know what that tells me? That puts a cap on the economy, a cap on the stock market, a cap on prosperity. And you're from Washington. Is Al Gore going to run for president? Is he going to put this stuff in place or not?
I still don't think he is going to run, though I know the betting markets have gone up a lot today. But you know what? You reduce emissions, you're going to end up reducing economic growth. Right. Technology is the solution. You can't have that without an innovative, prosperous economy.
There's no way around this, that if you put caps on emissions, if we go down the route proposed by our great friend David Hamilton, I love having him on, the reality is we're going to impoverish our future.
You're kneecapping the economy.
You guys are good with the myths.
Myths.
You're talking about the consensus of science.
Power. Economies need power to grow. Windmills are not going to do it. I got a bulletin for you. No windmills.
If you want to unleash the power of capitalism, send the right signals to the market, which is to reduce emissions.
Listen, if the emissions problem is the problem, I'm going to deal with that. I just don't want caps. All right, Jerry's got it. We're going to go into the next segment and talk about the debate between carbon caps and cap and trade. Anyway, Marlo Lewis, thank you very much in absentia. The rest of the panel is going to stay. We're going to tackle this whole issue of limits to growth. And by the way, there's a lot of central planning in this, too. Later on, Lynn Cheney joins me to